Hello again, everyone. This is Bob Martin, the RC Subguy with the NautilusDryDocks.com, and I got a quick tip for you on closing up the gaps in the hull of your RC Submarine to make sure that you have a nice razor-thin seam that is virtually invisible. So I'm going to show you what I've got going on with a project I'm working on right now and how I'm going to correct the problem. So this is a French redoubtable RC submarine hull created from 3D plans that I've actually got posted up on my website at NautilusDryDocks.com. This is the prototype, and I'm doing fitment in here. What I've discovered is that throughout the course of my installation of bulkheads, I had some things shift around a little bit, and what that has resulted in is this ugly seam. You can see it's almost 1/8 of an inch there. A lot of it has to do with the warping of the hull, but I've got everything squared up right now to the point where I don't want to mess with it very much more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close up that gap and make it invisible so it's a nice clean seam. And all I've done thus far is I've taken some masking tape and I've taped off the upper hull. The upper hull is nice and smooth and straight. It's a bottom one that ended up kind of warping on me. So this is taped on there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up some Bondo. This is Evercoat Rage. I love this stuff. I'm going to mix this up and we're going to smear it along that seam. All right, most of these fillers are a two-part compound. I'm going to mix in my hardener. And this kicks off really quickly, so what we're going to need to make sure that we do is get this applied as soon as we can. One thing that I've learned in working with this, if it starts getting chunky on you, stop immediately. Don't try and finish up that last little bit that you're trying to get in there. Just mix up a new batch. It'll save you a ton of headaches. So this is the completely mixed filler compound. Just going to set this aside. And I'm going to use a spatula here. I'm going to scoop up just a little bit and I'm going to push it into that gap. And we're going to go down the entire length of the area that I identified as being problematic. And there we go. Let's wait a few minutes. We'll let that kick off. And in the meantime, we're going to clean up our tools. We're going to come back and do some sanding. All right, now that this has set a little bit, I am going to use my power sander, my orbital sander. I'm going to sand everything down nice and flush. All right, what I want you to make sure you realize is that I made sure to sand all the way down to the tape. And the reason for that is because you can now use that as a parting line. I'm just going to use my, my scalpel, my hobby knife, and I'm just going to break that seam as you go along the hull, and that'll separate nicely. Actually, it looks like it's pulled apart completely already as I go. So I think actually what we'll do, we'll see if this is going to work. Just give it a little pry and see if it comes off. There we go. So now I can peel the tape off, and you can see we've got that razor seam right up on the top there. That filler protruded all the way in the entire thickness of the hull. All right, now that I have it back together again, it's kind of hard to see, but it is a very, very tight seam through there. And I can just take some sandpaper and just hand sand any little burrs or additional adhesive or anything that got on the model. Now, of course, what we're going to do after that's all done, we're hit it with a little bit of primer, and then you really see what you've got to work with. And here we go, final product. Primer is still drying, so it's got some weird kind of wet and dry spots in there, but you can see we've got a pretty darn tight seam all along the length of the boat where we corrected it, and that is exactly what we are after. You can do that obviously not only along the longitudinal seam of the boat, but along any vertical seams that you have, and you can make nice tight connections between two hull pieces. Hopefully that'll help you in your own endeavors. Well, there you go, guys. Just a quick tip on making nice tight seams for your RC submarines. Hope you enjoyed it, find it useful. Love to hear from you. If you have any questions or comments, reach out to me at any time. That's bob@rc-sub.com. I would love to hear from you. Got lots of stuff for you on my website at nautilusdrydocks.com. Information, resources, kits, parts, components, and much more. So by all means, check it out. I think it would be worth your time. My name is Bob Martin, the RC Sub Guy with the nautilusdrydocks.com. Thanks for joining me. Catch you next time.